Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Coach Gary from 30-Minute Millionaire, the founder of our coaching company. And I want to talk to you a little bit this morning about what makes a powerful leader so powerful. And I've read a lot of books on leadership, studied leadership. And I want to start off before we get into the lesson today and we do our screen share by telling you that most of the leaders that I've studied and some of the leaders that I've coached really were more purpose-driven than they were money-driven. Believe it or not, they really believed very deeply in what they were doing. They had a vision for what they were doing, and they were driven to really change not only their lives, but the lives of other people. So if you're that type of person that really wants to really make some changes and affect people's lives, and you find something inside of you that just drives you and then you're purposed by it, then I promise you success and money is going to follow you. So just keep that in mind that some of these great leaders, boy, they never gave up. They fought like crazy. They were consistent with what they believed in, and again, they campaigned for it. They fought for it. And that's what makes a good leader. And that's why people follow leaders. I will tell you this, though, that if you're really about making a lot of money, I promise you, find a purpose in your life first. Find something that's going to change other people's lives. And don't be so concerned about how much money you're making and how fast your business is growing. Be more concerned about, are you really affecting people's lives in such a positive way, either financially or from a health standpoint, or maybe you're, in financial services where you can help people secure their financial future, or maybe even help people protect their lives through identity theft and things that are going on today. That's a real purpose-driven industry right there. So there's a lot of reasons to find a purpose in your life. So understand, leadership is not just snapping your fingers and saying, hey, I'm going to be a leader. It really doesn't work that way. I'm going to share some very personal stories with you this morning, to let you know that, I had to really work very hard at developing my leadership and developing it within me before I can even attract other leaders to me. Remember, you got to work on you first. You got to be the leader that you want to work with. And sometimes that's hard. You got to look at you first and develop you as a leader when you really want to attract other people to your cause and to your purpose. So that being said, we're going to dive right into it. It's a very short one this morning. And again, a lot of time has to be spent with you really reading your books, studying these people, understanding who they are. And so I've only taken two people today, and that's Abraham Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt of the Rough Riders. I like both of those guys. Were so inspirational to me when I studied leadership. So here we go, okay? Here we go. All right. Let's get the seatbelts on. Let's go. So what makes a powerful leader powerful? I love the title of that because it's always questionable. What makes these guys different? Did they wake up differently? Were they born differently? I mean, what makes them different? And so let's really look at just a few of them this morning and kind of figure out what that is. You could spend a lifetime reading all the books written on leadership. That's the truth. You go to the library, just go ahead and Google leadership books, and you'll be amazed. Or go into Barnes and Noble, and I'll shock you. The books written on leadership are just one after another after another. And I'll be honest, I think I've read most of them. I got out there when I really got inspired as to what makes a good leader, and I studied it, and I almost exhausted the subject on it. So what makes a good leader? A person people would follow no matter what. And when I think about that, I think about George Washington in that cold winter night when, here's a guy crossing the Delaware and his people got to the other side, and they were marching in that snow, and some of them didn't even have soles on their shoes, and their toes were sticking through, and they got frostbite on their feet and their toes, and some people even lost their feet and their toes in that march. But those people were there for a cause. They were fighting for something they were passionate about, something that they believed in. And I think that takes a lot when you want to be a leader, to have that kind of passion and that kind of belief. Okay, these are only observations. I want you to know this, personal opinions in some small way, and I hope they can help you and me, the best student is the teacher, see what makes these people stand out to be so different. Let's look at Lincoln here a little bit. I'm going to bring this up just for a little bit here, okay? After reading books on Lincoln on leadership, Carry a Big Stick, Teddy Roosevelt book, that really moved me. I started realizing these men were men of vision. They were driven by purpose. It wasn't money. It was vision and purpose were the key elements and what drove them. Once I heard a keynote speaker on stage say, people will live for a dream, but they'll die for a cause. And when I heard that, I thought of George Washington when I read that part of history where men were losing their toes and feet because they were marching, because they were fighting for their freedom. Oh my gosh, what an incredible cause and purpose that would be to. Lincoln against all odds. Naysayers rose to the top to fulfill his dream and his passion. And we all know what that was. Did you know that only 10 days before he took oath in office in 1861, the Confederate States seceded from the Union, taking all the federal agencies, the forts, the arsenals, everything in their territory? I mean, his start was below any means. Okay, people came against this guy. To make matters worse, Lincoln, who was elected by the minority of popular vote, was viewed by his own advisors and constituents, nothing more than a gaugy, second-rate country attorney, with no leadership or experience. They all got behind and said, who is this guy? What are we doing? How come he's in office? He doesn't deserve to be there. That's really what the message was from the people that were talking about him. Sometimes Lincoln got so upset with his generals that he would actually, instead of chewing them out, I learned this from him. I wish I would practice it more, to be honest with you. But did you know that Lincoln he had a temper. He would write letters to his generals because he was so mad because they weren't following his instructions. And you know what? He never sent those letters. He wrote them to himself, and then he just quietly folded them up, put them in his desk drawer, and never sent them. That's how much he believed in what he was doing and how he wanted to work with other people, that they would believe in what he was doing. Oh my gosh, friends, that's so powerful. So if you think you got it rough and no chance to change, I'm sorry. Lincoln was against all odds and became one of our greatest presidents ever. The Emancipation Act, oh my gosh, delivering from slavery, oh my gosh, all the things that he did that changed our country and humanity, oh my gosh. Let's look at Lincoln Roosevelt for a minute here. One of the most uncommon heroes ever of all time. This guy stood out as one of the most exceptional leaders in American history. Why? Before his 50th birthday, Roosevelt had served as a state legislator, Undersecretary of the Navy, Police Commissioner of New York City, Governor of New York, Vice President, and then the President of the United States. What drove this guy to lead? And then he led the Rough Riders, man. I mean, he was right out front on his horse with his sword. I'm telling you, this guy was athletic. He was passionate about his family. He loved his friends. Teddy Roosevelt was a quiet person. He was just full of action. A lot of people don't realize that he was a very soft-spoken person. Why was this man so passionate? Why did he fight so hard for what he believed in to be right? So you can see from two different leaders here. From Lincoln, you felt his purpose, against all odds. Roosevelt, you felt his passion and his quest to set things right. That's why they call the book, carry a, what do they call it? They're carrying a big stick, speaking softly. Both great men, both great leaders. There are so many heroes and leaders of our time. Steve Jobs is another one. We could go on and on. The leaders are you just mount a list of these famous guys. And if you would just take some time and read what made these leaders so great. I'll tell you another little story right now. Michael Dell, out of his college dorm, started Dell Computers. And when Michael got into, making his computers, he wanted to compete with IBM. Just a modern day hero. Tough market. Everybody thought he would be crazy, and then he went into the laptops and everybody thought you got to stay in the desktop. So Michael was against all odds. But Michael Dell had a vision. Michael Dell had a dream. He said, we can change this industry. We can give more people computers and when they can take them wherever they want to. He saw it ahead of time. And as he went out there and he started really working in his business, and he had to hire people as support. He had to hire these, like what they worked on the computers, the support systems. They were like second people. They weren't employees of his company. They were third-party people. That's what I meant to say. And anyway, he was getting so many complaints from his customers that the computers would be sent in, they wouldn't be coming, they wouldn't be sent back for weeks on a time. And Michael Dell said this, and boy, I learned so much from this one book. Okay, the name of the book is Direct from Dell, by the way. And what Michael changed was so powerful, and he changed this. He changed the fact that, you know what, these people aren't servicing my customers. I'm going to create my own service department within my own company. And that's what came about Direct from Dell. He said, you know, if we can develop a community where people care about their customers and those customers become part of our community, then you know what, we can create commerce. Oh my gosh. That one thought, I said to myself, communication, community creates a culture to create commerce. And it stayed with me all these years after reading that book. So here's another great man of our time, Michael Dell. Steve Jobs, the same thing, got fired, came back, invited back the board of directors. But now look what Apple's doing right now. They're changing the world. Now they got a new watch out that does everything. All right. So there are so many heroes and leaders of our time that you can learn from. I just want to give you a couple examples here. If I had to put it into one sentence that makes a powerful leader, it would be this: one who is driven, passionate, and committed to do what is right for others. It was never about themselves. It was always about what they could do to service mankind, to service their followers, their customers. It was always about other people. That's what leadership's all about. Leaders of power and purpose are visionary people determined to set the course for what they feel is needed to make life better for all that would follow them and believe in them. You know, let me stop a little bit. A lot of people look at this and say, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. That's wonderful. And they kind of look at the difference. Well, maybe I'll look at network marketing and maybe I'll look at the traditional businesses. Well, let me share a little something with you here. Why do I believe so passionate about network marketing? Why do I think that's hands down a much better industry? Let me share this one little story real quick with you. You know, when I first, and you're going to hear the story a little bit later on, but boy, when I was developing, and I built 3 mortgage companies, by the way, I spent a lot of money in those mortgage companies. I had a huge overhead to crack, you know, and I had training and, you know, and I had to hire the right salespeople and develop the right leaders and management within my company. That was a lot of work, and I had to worry about insurance, you know, and I had to worry about human resources, and I had to worry about a lot of laws, you know, and those elements, you know. And here's the other thing too. In network marketing, I mean, my God, for a little investment, somewhere between $200 to $500, you have the opportunity to make millions of dollars, change millions of people's lives. And here's the one dynamic that's different. You see, in network marketing, it's all about helping you to become successful before anybody can become successful. You see, the dynamics that drive network marketing are more about culture and community and support. But it's not that way in the corporate arena. I'm sorry. One's people driven, the other one's greed driven. I'm not saying there's not greed in network marketing. There is. There's no question people get to the top that are greedy. Okay. But I'm talking about there's more people that come into network marketing that care about other people than there are to go in the corporate world where it's all about me and them as opposed to other people. So I can find that you can achieve your greatness a lot quicker and faster in network marketing than you can in your traditional businesses. Not saying that traditional businesses are bad. Please believe that. Okay. So let's look at these visionary people. They will climb mountains and move hills if their beliefs are strong enough. They are people of strong convictions. Determination grips them. They are consistent in their efforts. Of all the people that I've coached, that these $1 million income earners that I've worked with, the one thing that I learned, and I was blessed to have them as friends and as clients, you know, the one thing I learned from them, they were determined, they believed in what they were doing, and they were consistent with whatever practices they had to do. Their consistency was bar none. And did they have the same problems? Let me tell you, if I could tell you story after story, this one client, I cannot mention her name, but this one client, I promise you, would go on stage and had personal problems that would, oh my gosh, it would destroy most people's lives. They could not stand up in front of people. I remember people sitting in the stage going, oh, I just want to be just like her. I want to be just like her. Behind stage, she'd get off stage, and all of a sudden she gets a call from the attorneys. She had the battle of her life that went on for years and years. In that course of time, nobody knew this, she built one of the largest international businesses ever in our history of our industry. I will love this lady to the day I die. She is one of my heroes forever. Just know what people go through sometimes. And yet the smallest little deterrent stops people. The smallest little thing stops people. And sometimes I hear that, I just want to throw up. And I'm sorry to say that. You know, the least little bit of resilience goes out the window. And yet when I see these heroes and what they went through, and oh my gosh, and their adversaries and the people that came against them, and what they had to do at Lincoln to write letters, you know, in private to keep his temper from exploding with his generals, and then the constraint that he had because he was passionate and he believed in what he was doing and where he was going. What a difference he made in our society, in humanity, and mankind. And every person that God has created has these gifts and talents. If you'll just dig in deep enough and believe enough in yourself to find out you can have a purpose in your life. You have a destiny already. All you have to do is believe enough to fulfill it. That's what it's about. People follow them because they believe in them. Their beliefs are so strong, they move people to react. I call them people of influence, people of inspiration, people who stand out to take risks, regardless of what others think or say. Oh, I'm sorry I'm preaching at you today, but there's so many people out here that could change the course of history, that just are so into the problems and not into the focus of of their greatness. If they could just find their greatness within you, seriously, you can move mountains. I'm telling you, you can cross valleys. Every one of us has greatness within us, folks. Every one of us. God didn't leave anybody out. I'm sorry he didn't. If we would only get in touch with it and believe in it and follow it, our lives would be so different. And the lives of millions and thousands of people would be different. All it really takes sometimes is a kind word of encouragement from someone, or yourself to someone. A dear friend of mine, a mentor named Glenn Langston, who passed away years ago. God bless his soul. Was that person to me? Oh my gosh. He was one of the greatest people that I've ever met. One of my greatest mentors, one of my greatest friends. Glenn believed in me so much that he made me a partner, get this, on a handshake in a mortgage company with no attorneys. In fact, he put up $125,000. Now I had to match that. I had to put it up too. At the time, it was my life savings to start that company out. The brand new branch. Can you imagine someone putting up $125,000 because they believe in you? Wow. You think that didn't change my life? Man, I worked so hard. I would never let that man down. If somebody's going to invest money in me, they own me. I'm going to do whatever it takes to become the hero in their lives, in their eyes, because somebody believed in me enough. In fact, I was so motivated by what he had done. I became one of his largest branches and his #1 trainer recruiter in the entire corporation. 58 branches. I'm telling you, it was a big corporation. One of the largest in California, Northern California. I didn't stop there. Glenn came into my office one day and he sat down and he asked me this crazy question. I got to share it with you. He said, Gary, what's your dream? I just sat back and, and kind of like, why is he asking me that? That was my thought, And Glenn, I said, look, I just want to retire with a $50,000 a month income. That's all I wanted to do, and travel. Okay, that's all I want. I wanted a second home, retire with an income, write my books. I always wanted to write books. I always wanted to be an author. Yet I've written a few books now. Okay, to which he replied, he said, Gary, why? Why are you limiting yourself? And I just looked at him and I go, what are you talking about? He said, you're worth $2 or $3 million a year in retirement. Folks, I got to tell you something. I felt chains. You get this? Chains fall off my body and fall off my heart when he said that. He kind of released something in me that I don't know what it was. But these words of inspiration changed my life forever. I was just stupid enough and crazy enough, I guess, to believe him. I started realizing that I was not living at my fullest potential. I had so much more to offer. Glenn made me dig into who I was, to become better at who I am, that I can change other people's lives. Glenn asked me, have you ever read the book by John Maxwell called Develop the Leader Within You? And I go, no. You know, see, Glenn was reaching out to me to help me develop my leadership skills. And I started reading that book. I realized years later that he was reaching out to me when he recommended that book. And I was so excited when I read that book. I read every book I can get my hands on by John Maxwell. I read everything by Miles Monroe, who passed away. I even studied under John Maxwell. I got on a plane and went to one of his events and spent a whole weekend with John Maxwell. I wanted to learn about leadership. I wanted to know what made these people different. Okay, I don't know why I was driven to do that, to be honest with you. I had no clue where it was going to take me. I didn't know when I was going to use it. I had no clue until all of this came about, where I am today. It started me on a road to understand leadership, who the real leaders were, who the real leaders weren't. I soon learned you have to be a leader. You want people. You have to be your own leader. You have to be the leader that people want you to be. If that makes sense to you. You need to encourage, support, and coach. You need to be the leader that you want people to be. You have to be the leader first. Now, the other book that John Maxwell wrote is Develop the Leaders Around You. So it made such perfect sense. I hope I made Glenn happy. I know he's watching me from heaven. I hope I put a smile on his face for what a great thing he did in my life. I've been so fortunate to be blessed with other leaders who have inspired me to be my best and to do my best. I think of all the great leaders, Glenn was one of the best. I've been so fortunate, so blessed, so inspired. Think of all the people in your life, from your mother to your father to your friends, that inspired you to be great, to take the risk that normally most people don't take. You see, folks, a lot of us, what we really do is we think of all the negative things people said. We think of all the things that went wrong. And what we do is we create anchors to our life, our heart, and our soul, because we dwell on all the wrong things. I'm going to extend this just a minute. I'm going to come on. I want to see you in the eyes. But take out your journal right now. Start writing down notes from the people that you met, the books that you read, all the words of inspiration that fired you up and got you excited about life, words that made you believe in yourself, and how you emotionally felt when you heard them. Write it down in a journal. Get a nice leather journal and keep notes of these times in your life. So when things do go wrong and the winds of adversity blow on you, you can look at your journal and read that and say, hey, you know what? There are some great things about me. I have done some accomplishments. And those accomplishments, when you reflect on them, will lead you to greater and better things. Learn to aspire others to their greatness. And then after you die, let someone write about you the way I've just written about Glenn. By the way, people love Glenn so much, they dedicated a memorial golf tournament after him. Isn't it amazing that he passed away and the golf tournament lived on? Boy, I hope this has helped you. I hope that this has helped you to become a person of inspiration, a person of influence, a person of change. That's what real leadership's all about. So let me stop sharing for a minute here and come back on to you. Folks, it's in your hands. If you would just take some time and write in your journal, I'm serious, just write in your journal all the wonderful things people said about you, words of encouragement, words of inspiration, words that motivated you. And if you just keep a record of that, because there's going to be times in your life that the winds of adversity are going to come up, people are going to say negative things. They just do. And you're going to take those to heart, and you're going to create the anchors of your life. If you want to break those anchors, and I'm going to share this one story with you. If you want to break those anchors, you got to think on the things that made you successful. You got to think about the things that where you changed other people's lives. See, when you go on stage and become a great speaker, it's not about how well you spoke. The amateur comes off the stage and says, how did I do? The person that's led by conviction and passion and purpose, all he can think about is when he's looking out in that audience is, who's going to listen to this? Whose life can I change? That's what it's all about. Who's going to be different today? because of what I'm saying. God, help me reach those people that live in fear and doubt and question themselves, that haven't found the truth of who they are. They haven't found their destiny. They haven't found their purpose. That's the way a masterful leader thinks and talks. That's the mindset that they really have. So I want to leave you with this little story. You know, I never thought I was good enough. Never thought I deserved anything. Those would be the words that I went to bed with every night. At one time, I got so bad that I ended up going to a psychiatrist. I mean, I just couldn't find success. If I looked at it in the face, I couldn't see it. I'm just telling you, it's always been there. I just couldn't see it. And this psychiatrist looked at me and he said, "My God, you were a vice president of a Fortune 500 company at the age of 28. You built very successful companies, and you're telling, and now you got this other career." He said, "My gosh, what more do you want to have success? Very few people have 3 successful careers." See, I always blame myself from switching from one career to the other. I never was good enough. And here the psychiatrist says, "My God, you're thinking wrong. Your mind is wrong." See, you've all out there have had these successes, but you bottled them up and you kept them back. That's the problem. You didn't dwell on those successes enough to realize that you have greatness in you. And if you just tap into it and reach into it and find out that you do have that greatness, I promise you, your life is going to be different. You're going to develop a purpose within you and a passion within you. And you're going to get excited about who you are and what you're doing. And when people hear that on the phone call or when you're talking to them in person, they're going to want that excitement. They're going to want that passion that you have because you're a driven, focused person. You're determined to change people's lives. That's what it's all about. So this is Coach Gary. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I hope you pass this on to other people. I'm praying for you. Find your purpose. Get in alignment with the successes of your life. Stop thinking about all the things that went wrong and all the dumb things that you said, and start realizing everybody has said dumb things and everybody has made mistakes, and don't let those be the anchors of your life. Let your successes drive you to your future successes. God bless you all. Bye-bye now.